9.2, we're going to be talking about the mean of numbers. And as you just read in the notes, that's one of the types of measures of center, one way you can kind of figure out the middle of the numbers you're looking at. And specifically, mean means it's a type of average. And to find the mean of a data set, you're going to add all of your data together, and then you'll divide by the number of data values that you added up. So that might look like this. If you have a data set of 8, 5, 6, and 9, then you would add all of those numbers up together, and then you would divide it by 4, because there were 4 data values there. And so 8 plus 5 plus 6 plus 9 is equal to 28, and you would divide that by 4, and that would give you a mean of 7 for this particular set of data. In example 1, we're going to be finding the mean, and the table shows the number of text messages sent by a group of friends over 1 week, and we're going to try to find out what the mean number of messages sent was. You do not have to copy the table, but you're going to use that information to figure out the mean. First, what you're going to do is you're going to list all of the numbers of text messages that were sent from this particular table. And it doesn't really matter what order you put them in. I just went straight from the top down, and make sure you count carefully that you've gotten all of the data listed, because it's easy to miss one. And then you're going to figure out how many values that was. So it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which means that we're going to divide this sum on top. Sum means what we get when we add all those together, by 7, because that's how many data values there were, and that should give us our mean. And you're going to want to add carefully. You can group things. Remember, the properties tell us you can move these numbers around if you want to make it easier, or you can certainly group by adding like the first 2, then the next 2, and then the next 2 or 3 together, and then add all of those. Do whatever you need to do to make it as error-free or as least likely you're going to make a calculation mistake that you can. I went ahead and added these in groups, so I added these two, these two, these two, and that's what I got. And then over here I added all of those, plus I didn't forget about the 90, and altogether my sum was 721. So I'm going to put that on top here. And then that's going to have to be divided by 7. So again, that's going to require some long division on your part, so take a second to do the long division. And when I did that long division, you can see that I got 103, and hopefully you're organizing yours a little bit better than mine. Hopefully your work is all underneath here, easy to read. But when I got that 103, that tells me the mean, or the average of this data set, is 103, and in this case that means how many the average number of text messages sent by this group of friends. Next, we're going to use this information to help us compare means or averages. So the double bar graph shows the monthly rainfall amounts for 2 cities over a 6-month period. They don't really tell us which 2 cities, but you can see by the key here they've got the darker green, that's for city 1, and the lighter green for city 2. And these are the months that they took the measurements over, 6-month period, and these are how many inches of rainfall they got in each month. And they want us to compare the mean monthly rainfalls, or the average amount of rain that falls each month. So we're going to have to set something up for city 1 and then for city 2. You do not, again, have to copy the bar graph. You can just use this information to find the mean. And the first thing you're going to do is start by adding up all of city 1's averages here. So make sure you're getting the dark green each time, and then we'll go on to city 2 in a minute. So these are all of the rainfall totals for each of the months in city 1, and again I counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to make sure I had the right number. They said there were 6 months, and that also tells me that there were 6 data values. So overall we're going to add these up, and then we're going to divide by 6. Make sure when you add up decimals you remember to line everything up according to place value, and take a second to add all of those values up and make sure that you're adding carefully. This time, rather than adding in groups, I just added my first 2 values up here, and then when I got 5.7, I added the next one, then I added the next one, and then I added each of the values. But be careful if you're going to do it this way. You have to really be organized and make sure you're not skipping any values or using any of them twice. But when I did that, I got a total of 15 and 6/10 or 15.6, and I'm going to take that and divide it by 6. And remember, when you set up long division this time, you're going to put numerator on top and denominator outside. Remember, we always do that format. And then because there's no decimal out here, remember that means that you can just move the decimal straight up in the answer right above where it's already at, and then you can just do your regular long division. So 6 can't go into 1, but it can go into 15 twice. That would only be 12. When you subtract, you've got 3 left over. Bring your 6 down. 6 can go into 36 6 times. That means we've got nothing left over. So 2.6 inches would be the average amount of rainfall for City 1. And now we're going to follow these same steps for City 2. So take a second to organize and see if you can come up with the work for City 2, and then we'll compare those averages. So after finding the mean for City 2, you'll notice that all of these data values for the light green add up to equal 12. Down here with decimals it was 12.0, but we know those are the same. And then divide that by 6 and you would get 2 inches. So when we're going to compare these, the question, if you look back at what we were originally reading, said to compare the mean monthly rainfalls. So because City 1 had a 2.6 average rainfall, that means it had a greater average rainfall, or it had more rain falling each month. I'm going to let you choose on these on your own problems. I will let you do either number 1 or number 2, or you can do both if you want the extra practice. Obviously this one has more data but is whole numbers. This one has less data but is decimals, so you choose.